I'll just go over this with you. On the front end to start with, you have a bolt-on cutting edge here. That serves a couple purposes. It's a wear edge, so you don't wear into your bucket edge, but it also makes it a lot more rigid. So if you pick up a boulder or something in the bucket in the front, it doesn't flex the bucket. So the bolt-on cutting edge, it's replaceable. This is a universal skid loader attachment plate, so just raise two handles and tip out from underneath here. So you just tip out from under that, tip into a grapple, a set of pallet forks, anything like that. So I could put this bucket on that skid loader or even that big wheel loader. This is the same mounting plate. It's not the same as other tractors, but it's the same as any skid loader model. Now for oil, for greasing, a lot of these are really obvious. Some aren't so obvious. So anywhere there's a hinge pin, there will be a grease fitting, even if you can't find it. This is your dipstick for your axle oil. It's all sealed. If you don't see a leak, it really shouldn't go anywhere. But this is your dipstick. You can check it to make sure your oil's good. And then at 400 hours, you pull the drain off the bottom, drain it, and fill it right here. So you gotta be mindful of once that paint wears where those bolts are, they could loosen. It tells you in your manual after about 10 to 20 hours. There's a torque spec, but more importantly than the torque is just put a wrench on, make sure they're tight, so they don't loosen up on both wheels. It's just that when that paint wears off, sometimes it can loosen. So when you want to raise this up, your hood, you got to push your grill guard forward. Okay, and then when you pull this up, this will that will open. So everything you need to know is in here. This is your oil dipstick over here. So you have an oil. Here's your oil fill up here
on top. Okay.
Your antifreeze is good for -45. Okay. Your air cooler system. This screen, it's sucking air in here, so this will keep some debris out. You'll want to keep it washed off, cleaned off. It's going to draw air in here. Before it gets to your air cooler, you have another screen. This might catch some more dust and debris. Just take it out, wash it out. You can blow it off, whatever you want there. Your air cleaner is, or your air filter, the maintenance schedule is up to you. They don't know what condition you're running it in. If it's really dusty, it'll fill up sooner. In the winter, maybe not so much. It's just pleated. You can take this out, knock it on your loader, and it'll knock the dirt out if it's full. You can blow it off, just don't blow it out with high pressure, okay? But you can blow the dust off with a vacuum or any kind of clean thing. Blow it out with high pressure. You can clean that 4 or 5 times before you actually need to replace it. And then with you being on that side, I'll show you. Under here is your battery and your fuses. So you can get anything wet in here, it won't matter. Blow it off, wash it out, whatever, and then your cover goes back on. When you take your loader off, if you wanted to, I'm going to tell you to go to YouTube and watch a video. You can look through your manual as well. They design these loaders to come off without getting off the seat. Most people don't ever take them off. But let's say you're mowing. You won't necessarily want your loader on there for weight and maneuverability. Raise it up. This lever here will drop the stand for the loader. Okay? When you lower it down on that stand, it takes pressure off these pins right here. And this, and one on each side, this lever will flip up and lock right there. That unlocks your loader. And then when you tip it forward with this, it'll just roll right out. See that little cradle down there? That pin's just sitting in a little cradle. Okay, and then you have one more up here. Once it rolls out of that cradle, they give you room to back up. So back up a foot so you can get to this. turn the tractor off, wiggle this stick. If you notice up here, maybe you can see how it releases the pressure. Now there's a little red knob there. It turns a quarter turn and locks when you pull it out. So this is back here. Turn that little knob. When you lift this handle, that whole manifold comes off, and there's two posts on the bottom. One, just stick one in here, and your loader will stay parked right there until you're ready to hook up. When you want to hook up, pull forward just to here. Put this back on. Okay, stick those posts in. Pull this lever down, and it'll lock your hydraulics in. Now you can operate your loader. Pull forward. Now this. It has a 4-point mount system, same as your backhoe. So you have the pin in the bottom that fits in that cradle, and the pin in the top that's more active, I would call it, with the locks. Okay. That's how your loader works. The first time you take it off, same with your backhoe, it's just going to kind of fall off on you, and you'll go, oh, that wasn't bad. When you go to put it on, you'll want to be a lot more deliberate, and that's where you need to. When you take it off, that mount will be like this. You need to get it in that bottom cradle, right? And then roll it back and it'll lock. If you come back straight, you'll hit the pin up here. It won't get in that little cradle. Same with the backhoe. You're going to want to put it in that little cradle first and then roll it back. So same as this. I'll show you when we get back to that. But they're both a 4-point type mount. Really easy design for taking these on and off. Put that down. You want to pull this back forward or backward so it locks in so your loader doesn't hit it when you raise it. And you might forget that, but okay. So operational, what happens up here? First, you have your let's have a key. Yeah. So when you go to start this, there is a glow plug right there. You actually have to turn it, all your power on, right? You'll turn it a quarter turn, not quite, for your glow plug. See this little light over here? Yeah. It doesn't go off. Just hold it 5 or 10 seconds. Even if it's real cold, it'll fire right up. Okay. When you run, that's your hour meter. When you're operating this, they want your RPMs up to 2.5 RPMs, okay? 2,500 RPMs. That is to get at least there. That gives you enough pressure for your loader and your transmission, hydraulics, and your backhoe, okay? In order to run your PTO at its maximum, 540, you want to be in the yellow on your RPMs. So let's say you're running your snowblower, you just need it up that high for your snowblower. If you run your snowblower or your PTO less than that, it'll spin slower. If you run it more than that, it doesn't spin fast. Okay. That's your maximum right there. Okay. When you engage your PTO, it's over here. So for your mower deck, for your snowblower, if you had a tiller, this is your PTO selector because you have two PTOs, one in the back, one in the middle. This selects the one for the middle. If you're just mowing or snow blowing, it'll turn both of them. This one is just for the rear. That's the middle, that's the back. See how that's on the back of the tractor? This is your selector handle, and this is your engage on and off. It has a little clip right here, so you have to kind of pull it over to get past it. But when you're engaging your PTO attachments, you'll want to be in low throttle, turn it on, and then wind up your throttle. Okay. So this has a safety switch on the seat. So I could start this right now, get on and off, it won't matter. The safety switch is for two reasons. They don't want you off the seat if your PTO's running. If you're running your snowblower and you get off the seat, it'll die. If your tractor has been sitting there or you turn it off without turn the tractor off while your snowblower's running, this is still engaged, your tractor won't start. Troubleshooting 101. Turn it on, you have power, your tractor won't start. If your clothes catch it, if somebody's been messing around on here and it's engaged, your tractor won't start. If it's running and you get off the seat, it'll kill it. The other reason for your seat switch is if you get off the seat and push on this, it'll kill the tractor. Now, if the PTO's on and you get off the seat, it kills the tractor. If you are pushing on this and you're not in the seat, it'll kill the tractor. Can't stand up and go forward. One thing I do worse than that is I'll get on kind of excited on any of these and I'll just rest my foot on here. It won't start, okay? Troubleshooting again. Move your foot and it surprises you because you're like, okay, now what? And it's like, no, they don't want you to start the tractor and have it start moving forward. Okay, your brake is over here on this side. When you set your brake, you push this down. Now this is an operating brake. When you let go of this, it returns to neutral. It'll slow down and stop. But this is your I want to stop now brake. When you set your park brake, you can set that in a really light position, but you really want to get some weight under it and then lock it. So if you're on a hill and you just kind of mamsy-pamsy push that and lock it, you don't have much pressure. So if you really want it parked, put some pressure on it and then lock it. Get it off, you just push it. This is a mechanical cruise control. So you hold this down and this will lock in different places to maintain your speed. Let's say you're mowing. You want to maintain your speed on a big area, you can use that and then it'll unlock. The main rule for your RPMs is the higher your RPMs, the more responsive your transmission and your hydraulics will be. Okay, so if you're wanting to hook up something in the front, your snowblower, or this in the back, and your RPMs are up real high, it's going to be jumpier than crap. Lower your RPMs, it'll move easy. So when you want to operate, you want it up here in this RPMs, but not when you're hooking up, okay? Don't lug your engine, that's why you want to raise it up higher later. But you'll find it might be a little slow you want, so I'd raise it up just a little bit. Find that sweet spot for you. But that's, if you're getting on this side of the tractor, there's a lot going on over here. If you're getting on and your RPMs are high, you step on this, it's going to kill the tractor, but it's going to jump because your RPMs are high, very responsive. So if you're getting on this side, your RPMs are right here, just lower your throttle, get on. Now, they also give you a loader lock for your stick. It's right here. When you throw this on, this will lock your stick in any position your loader is. So if you got this bucket up and somebody's down there with a shovel and you don't want to accidentally kill them, put your loader lock on. It will lock this stick. This goes over a little bit. Once you get on the tractor, then you just slide that back. This is your high and low range and your neutral. High range, there's no torque. That is only a travel speed. Okay? If you filled the bucket with gravel and went up a hill, it probably wouldn't. Travel speed, this is your operating range. So you're fast or slow. Now, the all or nothing is, that's your range. The more you push on this, the faster you go. The faster you go, the less torque you have. So if you're going into a heavy pile of dirt or gravel, you want a lot of torque. You're going to put it in low range, and you're going to have very little movement on this pedal. That's your most torque. The most torque is the or the least torque is the fastest in one of these ranges. So for the torque, that's where that would be. Neutral is for your backhoe, so you can reposition without turning your seat around. I'll show you that in a minute. But that's your neutral, and that's your range, and then your speed control is here, and your throttle. Now the only caveat to this, or exception I should say, to that seat switch is if you're hooking up and you need 2 inches in the front, or your snowblower, you need it to move a little. You don't have to get on the tractor and move it. Raise your RPMs just a little bit and you can jog it with this. Real quick movements. I would do it from that side, not this side, so you're not reaching over, right? If you hold this, it'll kill it. If you move it quick, it'll move it a little bit. Jog it forward or back. The higher your RPMs, the more distance it's going to jog before it kills it. Okay, so that's your little jog mode you can use. This is street legal, so you have flashers, signal lights, headlights. You have to have that slow moving vehicle sign to be on the streets. There's a holder for it on the backhoe. There's also one right here. So if your backhoe's off, put your sign in here. You don't want to operate your backhoe with it, it's in the way, right? It might be in the way here. So, this is your loader stick. So you're going to have an up and a down, side to side. It also has a float. The float is all the way down. That's going to take the pressure out of these lines. The only weight you have is the weight of your loader. That only works in reverse with the loader arms. You can't dig with it because it'll be squirrely. It only works in reverse. Let's say if I was dragging this gravel and there was a big bump, I can still tilt it while it's in float, so it'll grab a little more or a little less, right? The exception to this float in reverse is your snowblower. Your snowblower or an angle blade has skid shoes, so it'll skid forward on it in float when you're in there. That way it gives you this is your control for your angle 3-point. This is your third function. So if you plug into those for an angle blade, this will be your right and left. If you had a grapple, that would be an open and a close. If that would be an auger, it would be a spin or a stop. So that's your loader stick. So when you're operating, this is your 3-point hitch up and down for the back and for your mower deck. There's linkage under here your mower deck hooks to. You'll raise and lower your deck with this. If you don't have your deck on, you don't want that linkage moving up and down. This is your height control for your grass cutting. You have to have, you want to lock your linkage up. So if you're running your rototiller, this linkage isn't going up and down with your rototiller. So in order to get that locked in the up position, you have to raise your 3-point hitch all the way. Turn this knob till that top lines right up with that arrow. And then it's locked. So now you can lower this. The back end will up and down, but this linkage under here won't. It's just a scissor linkage. So it kind of goes up and down like this with your mower deck. But that is your height adjustment for your cutting, how much you want to cut. Well, it's not all the way up, that's why. So we'd have to raise it up. Here, let me give it a little blow plug. It's plenty warm out here. Raise this up. Now, they give you a little picture on this so you don't forget what this is. Probably won't use it much. This matches that picture in case you forget. This is part of your 3-point hitch. It's a speed control. Let's say you had a heavy implement on the back, a brush cutter or a tiller. If you push this forward, it's going to slam to the ground. Okay? If you try to ease it down, it might like do this. Just a restrictor valve. It restricts the oil on that hydraulic. So push this forward, it'll just ease down. Now if somebody gets on here and messes with that, your 3-point hitch won't move. But that's your speed control for your 3-point hitch. That's all it is. This is a rear differential lock. It's really important when you are in 4-wheel drive. You have one drive wheel back here, one in the front. if you start to slip, your inclination is to push this because it locks the axle together. Don't do that. You want to stop. If you push that down, it'll lock your back axle together, and now you have two drive wheels in the back.
Okay.
The reason you want to stop is in order for this to lock in, it's got 4 pins trying to find 4 holes. And if it's spinning, it's just kind of grinding those pins off and they can't find the hole. And I would say even when you release it, stop. Because let's say you're driving, you start to slip, you stop, you push that down, now you got out of there slipping, and you stay driving forward and you let go of that, those pins might not pull back out. So that's your rear differential lock. That really gives you that extra traction you might need. You're good everywhere up here now. So when you want to, you do have this tilt steering wheel. It's important I mention that because it gives you room to get on and then comfort when you're driving. But if you get off, your seat isn't going to spin around for your backhoe if this is down. So raise it up. To raise your back, this seat up, you do have a tilt right here, okay, on your seat. I like to tilt it forward a little or all the way. That way it doesn't hit everything. So you pull this handle up, it only spins clockwise. Spin this around. You'll hear it click, and it locks in. And then I would move this back. Now when you get on this, remember if your RPMs are high, it's very responsive. This is your swing cylinder. If you grab this, it's going to come around here and hit you. RPMs are up high. If they're not, it's slow. It'll just kind of go like this and you're like, oh, whoops. Okay, they do give you a stick lock on this too to be able to get on. Everything else still moves, and very responsive if your RPMs are high. You can probably reach your RPMs from your seat if you want to get on and then raise them up, whatever. But that locks that. The other thing you can do before you get on, you just pull this out and stick it in here. That'll lock your swing. So that locks that. Once you get in the seat, you just pull this out. Stick it in your holder. Okay, this one's swing. This one is if you're driving around, you don't want this back here bouncing. Also, if you're parked, you want this in because any of your cylinders here or here will bleed over time. So if you park next to a car or a fence, this could bleed into it. This could bleed into it this way. It takes a while for them to bleed down, but they will, just so you know. So when you go to park it, if it's going to be a while, just set them on the ground. Or some guys, like when they send these to us, you probably tell on a few of them, when they ship them, they put zip ties on here. For most guys that I've ever seen, only a few of them that have come in have a bungee from here to there, and that's all you need. So make sure this is in. When you go to transport it, you want this on the deck. You don't want this up in the air because this is a lot of weight, and I've tried it. It doesn't matter how hard you tie this down, when you hit a bump on the road or the freeway, it's gonna bounce. So you don't have to put pressure on it, just set this on the deck. You can tilt it sideways even, just set it down.
Okay.
You don't have to tie it down. Just set it down, tie it down on these 2 loops right here. Yep. Now, when you go to operate, these are your stabilizers up and down, okay? They will move without the tractor on, just like you saw that. This will move. It won't come back up. So that's your stabilizers. When you want to move, to reposition, like I mentioned, from your seat, you can reach this loader stick. So when you go to use your backhoe, you want to lift, not in float. You want to put pressure on the ground and raise your front tires off the ground. You want to use these to raise your back tires off the ground. So now all of your weight is leveraged backwards for your backhoe. If your wheels are on the ground, it's going to pull you around, okay? So off the ground. let's say you trenched or you dug a hole and you want to reposition, reach back, raise your loader, raise these up just a couple inches. It puts all your wheels on the ground. You make sure it's in neutral and you can reach it from your seat. And just push yourself with your dipper stick. Just push yourself. And your tractor will roll forward or backwards. That way you don't have to get off, spin your seat, move up a foot, and or 3. So that helps. And then when you want to grease this, they did a great job of putting all your grease fittings on one side. Almost all of them. These are really important because those are down in the dirt. Just a little bit of grease, 8 to 10 hours. Some of these again are going to be obvious. There's a hinge pin here. There's also one under the hose right there. It's got a hinge down there, doesn't it? So it gets a grease fitting. This one's obvious. Oh, the other end of this is going to have a hinge pin on it too. So they give you an access hole right down over here. Reach in there and hit that greaser. Now, these aren't on that side. So these are the only 2 that you can't grease from that side. Or 4 actually. These 2 and those 2 down there. Now your bucket teeth are removable. If you want to replace them, let's say you have really, really hard dirt or rock, you might want to take 2 of them out and just use 1. More down pressure, a lot more breakout, right? If you want a smooth bottom on your trench, you can take these off and just use this cutting edge. And it's heavy, you won't wear it out. You can put your teeth back on when you need them, whatever. You can get a clamp that puts on here, get a pin into place, and then you curl your bucket into it, right? Now when you want to go to take this off, again, just a quick overview, YouTube is very useful, and your manual. They did away with the pins you had to pull out at the top because some people wouldn't take these off for a while and they couldn't get their pins out. So they went to this cam system. Okay, so you got a clamp that grabs that pin. It's connected to this. If you pulled your daylights out right now, you couldn't open it because there's too much pressure on it. So you'd want, when you go to take this off, lower these down about an inch or 2 off the ground. Just set this on the ground. You don't have to put pressure on it. Just set this down. It takes pressure off these pins. Pull that out and it'll turn just a little bit and lock on each side, 1 on each side. And you're doing all of this from the ground, not the seat. So you'll use this, lower it to the ground, lower those to the ground with this, pull those open. Now opened off that pin, you'll use these to just tip it forward. Tip it back. This will be on an angle. It moves these out of the way, and then you can see that little cradle down there at the bottom. That pin sitting in that cradle. That's gonna, you'll use these stabilizers to raise it up out of that little cradle. And then pull forward. You can use the jog if you want. Pull forward a good foot so you can get your hydraulic hoses unplugged. It'll be really obvious which hoses stay with the backhoe. There will be 3. The only one that stays with your tractor doesn't have a fitting on it. You can see these are just couplers. These undo, this undoes. Pull away from your backhoe. This hose has to go back in here to complete your circuit. So pull forward. These caps will keep the dust off and the dirt. This one plugs back in. Your backhoe will just sit here until you're ready to hook it up, but it will more than likely settle to the ground. You can put a block or a pallet under it if you want, doesn't really matter, because when you go to hook up, you're going to back up to it, hook up your hydraulics, and now you can raise it up and move it around. Same with like the loader I was telling you. When you take this off, this is going to be leaned forward. When you go to hook it up, that has to be leaning forward. Get it in that bottom, okay. Roll it back. If you come in straight, it's going to hit up here. You won't get it in that little lock in the bottom, that cradle. A lot of fun to operate, easy to operate, takes a little while to just kind of get the feel of it. You can swing at each side, dump, and do multiple functions at once. Once you take this off, your 3-point hitch pins on here. This is your right side, this is your left side, this is your top link. Pins on there. This is your PTO under here. That just has a dust cover on it right now. That's your PTO shaft for that. This is your transmission fluid dipstick and fill port. So you'll check it for oil, which it has plenty. You would fill it in this position too.
Okay.
From that hole. Yep. Just make sure it's on the dipstick. You're good. Let's go up front and I'll show you a little bit about your 3-point hitch. But the right link, left link. The right link is going to have a turnbuckle to angle if you want, or level, and then your top link has a turnbuckle for pitching back and forth. This is your rollover. I'll show you those in a minute. So you pin them at the top, and you'll pin them down and low at the bottom. It's hang down low, but they're pinned up here. So this is hooked to your hydraulics. That's what's going to raise them up and down. Lower arms are just hanging out. There is no down pressure. So if these were down, I could just grab this and raise it up. So flip your seat back. Turn it around. You will want to grease this once in a while, this turntable under here. I don't know what it shows you in the manual, but it'll tell you that you want to put a little grease on that and on this. That's not logs. Now, if you want to raise your seat forward, I like all my seats up. In the summer, these get blazing hot, but they also get dusty, dirty, wet. So I like to raise them. So if you look back here, here is your seat release. Your seat is really heavy because it has all of that mechanics on it, right? Mechanical stuff. So pull it forward, again, really heavy. Lean it forward. Doesn't matter if this gets wet, snow, whatever. Here's your case to put your manual in if you want. Just lock and unlock that. But just tilt it forward. It's easy to change that. So let's look at your 3-point hitch. Actually, he didn't put it in here because he didn't put anything on it. Oh, here's one here. So yours is going to come in a box. And you'll just have to pin it together here and here. It'll give you instructions for that. These are your turnbuckles. This is your right side because it has this on it. So this is your left side. Your top link. This, when you take your backhoe off, this fits in between down below your PTO. This will slide in a hole. This will be connected to these ends. This end and this end are connected to here. And this, so once you have this pin on your tractor, you just drop this on and it hooks. And then there's a pin that goes in here that locks it. This is a top link holder. I don't have a tractor here. Yeah, I do. Come over here, let's show you. It helps if you can see it put together. There you go. So you see how it pins here? And that just will raise and lower these. Okay? This is that bar right here under here that grabs to. There's a bushing on each side right here. those bushings have to go in there, and then this is your spacer, holds everything together, and that's your pin that locks this on. So your right side has this, and that will tilt or level. This side's stationary. These are your turnbuckles. So let's say you're putting a box blade or a tiller. You'll hook it up, but you don't want it back here doing this, right? So you'll have to tighten each one of those till these are tight. So that's the top link. This just holds it so it's not back here flopping around. So you just pull that down. There's your top link. And then it just slides up like that just to hold it out of the way. Yeah. Here's what it looks like. When you take your loader off, your snowblower plugs in just like this. Your hitch looks just like this. The only difference is yours has a drive line under it. So that's what yours looks like. If you look right here, this is how yours hooks up. You got these two wings on your snowblower. These two little ears grab right there, and then these are spring loaded. You pull them out and hook them in. And once you take your loader off, you have got to physically grab this hitch right here and hook it right up here on these. Hook those ears right on that. This mount stays on your tractor. Sure. So these ears just hook on there, and now that thing will pivot. And then you'll pivot it down and run this pin all the way through. Okay? See how it runs all the way through here? That will hold it in place. And then you'll have to get under for your drive line. I'll show you that over here. So here's your drive line. Your drive line will slide on to this, right? On that end, it slides on. You got a little grease fitting. You can squirt some grease and put it on here. You get grease zerks anywhere. That will just free float on here. It just slides. When you raise it up and down, it slides back and forth. This locks on. See how that's just a coupler? That just pulls backwards to hook, right? But you got to get under, pull that back, and stick it on. Your U-joints have a
zerk?
A zerk on them, see?
Got it.
A few grease points, not bad. This bearing is probably important right here. That's how your drive line works. These are your shoes that we took off. So you can see they're a little longer. Those are your skid shoes. This is your cutting edge they took off, and they put that one on. And grease fitting here on this bearing, grease fitting on that bearing. Yep, and then that greases this. This is your shear pin. That's your shear pins. So once you put this on, see how these ears just sit on that front, and then when you swing it back, this pin goes through, and then your ears on your snowblower grab these. Let's go around here, and then here's your pins for this. These will move.
Okay.
These will plug in, and then that's your right and left, and then this is your deflector. Just these, and raise that and lower it. It is really a cool system the way they put this together. Your maintenance on your snowblower will give you in the manual. It will show you any gearboxes that you have. This is your fill port. Would unscrew this one. That's your weep hole. So you'll add oil to this until you see it start to come out this hole. You don't want the whole thing full. There's a drain on the bottom. Yep, that's it. It doesn't like gravel. Fan inside here, see how close that tolerance is around that fan? I mean, that's to grab that stuff and flip it out of there. So you get any kind of small debris in there and that fan is going to, you know, make you wonder. You do have, if you notice, you have a shear bolt on that fan too, right there on the top. Yep. That'll keep you going. You can get side cutters for it if you want, that are just extend it out an inch or two on each side for width, but you're good to go. That's what we got there. I'll go grab your 3-point hitch and we can get you loaded. Just pull right up next to this truck. Just